What's up guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. This video we're going to be talking about what is Java. Java is actually one of my favorite programming languages, and one of the reasons why is that it's been around the block. Java is 26 years old. My personal opinion, most people don't choose Java. You get thrown into the fire. For me, I got introduced to Java for my very first enterprise job. The front-end dev or back-end using microservices. We were using Spring. You might be in an environment where you use JBoss, but in my experience, most people learn Java because they are trying to acquire a technical skill that is very valuable. You might have learned it at school. You might have learned it through like trade organizations. Or if you're like me, you might have learned it online reading books because there's plenty of resources online, just like peopleintech.io. Make sure to go check it out as we have upcoming courses about Java and JavaScript. So you might be asking, why learn Java? So Java is typically the language of enterprise development. For my very first software engineering role, Java was predominantly used to make microservices, APIs, maybe some cloud functionality as well. And most Java development that I've seen utilizes some framework, whether it's Spring, which is very, very popular, which I'm a huge fan of, or maybe it's something different like JBoss. Whatever the case is, Java is typically used at larger organizations. And because of that, it's a very valuable skill and a technology to learn and understand. Benefits of Java. All right, so 4 that come to mind, guys. Object-oriented. For me, Java was just a programming language where it finally clicked. Where somebody gave me an assignment, pretty much build like a education platform where you had students, you had teachers, you had classrooms, you had schools, you had districts. Finally, object-oriented clicked, and I was able to build it in Java. And sometimes you need to put your hands to the keyboard using a language that you're trying to explore and understand for some of those concepts to finally come to light. Platform dependent, I mean, the fact that I run on a JVM, we're going to dive into that further, but you know, the idea is you write Java once, you run it everywhere. Documentation and history is the one thing I'm going to highlight that I'm probably going to harp on more than anything else, but the fact that it's 26 years old, the fact that you have people who are constantly solving problems. I have not been in a situation where I've run into something first, using Spring, using Java 8, Java 11, using IntelliJ, whatever tooling you have, whatever you're using with Java. I have not run into a problem where it's like, holy crap, I have no idea how to figure this out. And that's really cool because you just have an established community. And lastly, the frameworks, which I'm going to talk about Spring, JBoss, and all the frameworks later, but Spring is very, very popular. It's kind of help keep Java up with the times, in my personal opinion. But those are some of the things I really, really enjoy about Java. You know, and guys, to be honest with you, like today, all the hype is about JavaScript, Python, Go, and I get it. I jumped on the same bandwagon too. And I love all those languages and I love exploring, but Java developers are still in high demand. Java is still growing. That's the crazy thing. Like, you got 90% of Fortune 500 companies who are really, really relying on Java. So because many of their systems are built in Java, they're looking for talent. So if you understand Java, there's a lot of opportunity out there for you. And it's always good to know you can make money. You can make 6 figures in software development. I'm not going to say easily, but it's very, very possible. I mean, if you go on apps like Blind, people are recording like total compensation packages of $200,000, $300,000, $500,000, L6, L5, L4, whatever the position is. Some of these companies, FANG companies, startups, whatever the case, there is a lot of opportunity out there for you. And the good thing is you don't have to always be a developer, but being a developer is in demand. It is a skill. And once you master that skill, and Java is a great programming language to start with, then you are going to be highly desirable. What can you build with it? I'm going to start off with my favorite, which are web-based applications. If you pair Java with something like servlets, struts, JSPs, Hibernate, Spring, web servers like Resin or Apache. There's so much tooling out there. It makes it very, very easy to make a high quality production level application, be it for a startup, be it for a large organization. Java and the Spring Framework, JBoss, all these things out there make it very easy to build web-based applications. One of the things that we saw during the pandemic was a rise of e-commerce. However, not everybody can be dependent on a Shopify account. Shopify is a great tool and platform, but like them, they probably have a internal system that allows other people to build stores without writing too much code. And if you pair Java with tools like Broadleaf, you can build your own e-commerce solution. You can create something that works for your organization. And that's what you're going to see across the board is some of these organizations invested in their internal tooling and wanting to create their own custom e-commerce platform versus utilizing something that's already out there. Another thing that I think is highly overlooked is Android development. Now, I know Kotlin is a new thing, and we're going to talk about that later, but there's a lot of stuff that's still written in Java that people still need others to work on, and that organizations are still looking for people who can dive into those code bases and make modifications or changes when needed. We have to talk about embedded systems because embedded systems are everywhere. From our smartphones, our computers, to our TVs, everywhere. So these systems use Java because of all the benefits we talked about before. But if you just think of common applications, smart cards, SIM cards, utility meters, television, Blu-ray discs, all these devices are dependent on Java in some shape or form. And that meant you needed Java developers. You needed people who could write the code, the systems, the logic, the implementation to make these things that I hate to say, take for granted on a daily basis, work. If I don't mention this one, people are going to get really, really upset in the comments, but I gotta mention big data. Big data, they're just very, very trendy tools, especially at enterprise organizations, because they're really looking for somebody who understands Apache Hadoop. They're talking about moving large amounts of data from one area to another, and there's so many tools out there, but Java just seems to work very, very well when you're thinking about things like batch jobs, or if you're thinking about larger movements of data. There's just so much tooling pairing with Java that make that very, very easy and manageable to maintain. And we can't forget software tooling. I mean, when you're a software developer and you're picking your editor, it's a big deal. Are you using Eclipse? Are you using STS? Are you using IntelliJ? Software tools, they help programmers develop, analyze, debug, maintain, support, and build programs. So when I think of Java, and I think they use Java to help build IntelliJ, and I love IntelliJ. It's my favorite editor if you're going to do any Java development. And I worked with all of them except for NetBeans. And I just find IntelliJ to be the most intuitive and the most helpful. Sometimes with some warnings that I don't always understand, but for the most part, a very, very helpful tool. But yeah, there's a lot of possibilities with Java. Gaming applications, we didn't even get to talk about. Cloud-based application, the list goes on and on. A lot of great benefits of Java. Just so you know, this video isn't sponsored by anybody. There are some cons to Java. The first big con that you'll notice is a huge trend on my channel is you got to pay, and we do not like when you have to pay for certain items. If you look in the YouTube universe, you will find some videos focused exclusively on the concept and idea of having to pay for newer versions of Java moving forward. And what does that mean for side project, personal projects, enterprise project, and everything else moving forward. Another thing I'm not a huge fan of, and I understand why people kind of hate on Java for it, is the performance. It's kind of a slow language. I mean, the fact that it's running on a JVM and then now you have JVM exception these days, it's very possible that you can kind of run into the situations where things are just slower. And when you're comparing it to programming languages like Go or Python, and you start looking at the benchmarks, yeah, Java's not usually the one that's winning. Overall, Java is just not that sexy. It is kind of it's been around for 26 years. It kind of comes off as the language where people use it. It's all reliable, but again, it's kind of gone down in popularity over the past several years. One of the reasons people don't like Java, especially when comparing it to something like Python, is it's very, very verbose. I mean, I've worked with front-end developers trying to help them with a back-end story in an enterprise environment, and some people get caught up on the access modifiers. When you see public private or package private, what does that mean? I don't understand. What does that compare to in JavaScript? Is that the same as const, let, and var? So many people get confused on the different interfaces and inheritance, and going back to what I said earlier, there's a fundamental understanding you need to have to be able to truly get the benefits of Java, and many people are thrown in the fire and they get that fundamental understanding after the fact. And then lastly, there are some UI tools out there, Java Swing, Java FX, Timeleaf, but for the most part, you're going to be using Java to do your backend, interacting with your database. For the front end, you're most likely going to be using a library or framework. React or Angular are the most popular. And that's probably the biggest con is, see, back in the day, people could build a whole web application, and you still can, but in most enterprise environments, that's not going to be very, very common. You're going to see them separate the front end from the back end for benefits like flexibility, modularity, scalability. However, it's still a con in the sense that you used to be able to do everything in Java, but nowadays you just don't see people using Java in that manner. Is it still relevant? I mean, as you can see, Java is still commonly used in our daily life in many different ways. If you're a Java developer, the average salary, according to Indeed, is $102,000. Just think about it. You do Java development, you go on social media, you'll see some of these developers where they'll tell you their journey. They'll tell you they started off, year one, maybe doing a few side projects. Year 2, finally landed a good job. Year 3, maybe at a FANG company. Year 5 to 7, it's like, man, software development's really changed my life. Because it is a very, very popular programming language, still used at many of the big tech companies. Many organizations that we use and know of, at least if you're based in America, are using Java. And if you are a person who understands and can write Java code, you are gonna be highly sought after. Java is here to stay and will continue to attract many developers for a very long time. Hope you enjoyed this video. That's all I got. I'm out. Peace.